I'm going to say something that will bother a lot of people. Being poor is a sin. Wait, don't click away yet. Let me explain what this really means, because maybe the problem isn't the sentence, but the target we've been missing our whole lives. In Christianity, sin isn't about how much money you have in your bank account. Sin comes from a Greek word, hamartía, which means to miss the mark. It means living out of alignment with God's standard. It means rejecting His rule over your life. So the real question isn't whether being poor is a sin. The real question is, what is God's standard that we are missing? From the very beginning, God's pattern was never scarcity. When you open Genesis chapter 1, what do you see? Abundance, beauty, order, provision. God looks at everything and says it is good, and then, in verse 28, He speaks to humanity. Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and every living creature that moves on the earth. Nothing there talks about endless survival. The mandate is to bear fruit, multiply, develop, and govern. Even in the desert, when the people of Israel were at their limit with nothing, God did not leave them in misery. In Exodus 16 verse 18, it says, "When they measured it by the omer, the one who gathered much did not have too much, and the one who gathered little did not have too little. Everyone gathered as much as they needed." That is not scarcity. That is full sufficiency. But wait, I know what you're thinking now. What about the rich young ruler? Didn't Jesus tell him to sell everything and become poor? Calm down. Let me show you what really happened there. In Mark 10, starting in verse 21, Jesus looks at that man and says, "One thing you lack. Go, sell everything you have and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me." The young man went away sad, because he was very rich. But pay attention. The problem was not the wealth. It was a heart already taken captive by it. Jesus did not reject him for having possessions. Jesus exposed that money had already become his God. If wealth itself were the problem, Jesus would have said that to all rich people. But he didn't. Zacchaeus, for example, remains rich, but now with a surrendered heart. The text does not teach that having little is spiritual. It teaches that anything occupying the place of Christ must fall. And Paul? Didn't he say he learned how to live with little? In Philippians 4, verses 11 to 13, Paul writes that he learned to adapt to every situation, whether having plenty or being in need. He says he learned the secret of being content in any circumstance, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in abundance or in need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. But Paul was not teaching stagnation. He was teaching inner freedom. Contentment is not conformity. Contentment is peace in the heart, not a limit placed on your calling. Now the headline makes sense. Being poor is not a sin, but normalizing scarcity as the standard of the kingdom is missing the mark. When someone truly knows Christ, even in a fallen world, that life somehow expresses sufficiency. And sufficiency is not a private jet. It's working wisely, having peace to rest on the weekend, taking your family out for a simple meal without counting every coin. It's being able to eat what you want, not just what's left over. It's looking at someone in need and helping without panic. It's not living in survival mode every single month. That is sufficiency. That is what the Bible calls living with dignity and purpose. And many times, that sufficiency doesn't come from a financial miracle falling from the sky. It comes through wisdom. Joseph in Egypt didn't receive instant money. He received wisdom to interpret dreams and manage the greatest economic crisis of his time, and he became governor. In Exodus 31, God speaks about Bezalel, saying he filled him with the Spirit of God, giving skill, ability, and artistic intelligence. God gave intelligence, knowledge, and competence to create and manage. In Proverbs 8, wisdom says, "With me are riches and honor, enduring wealth and righteousness." And Solomon? He asked for wisdom in 1 Kings 3, and God not only gave wisdom, but also wealth and honor as a consequence. Because when you operate with the mind of Christ, things begin to move in your favor, even in difficult conditions. There are people with a lot of money and very little wisdom. And there are people with little money, but rich in wisdom, creativity, and discernment. And that changes everything. If someone is in Christ and lives for years without fruit, without progress, something needs to be addressed. I'm not saying it's automatic guilt. It may involve fear, distorted vision, poor stewardship, wounds, or structural injustice. But the Bible never calls anyone to bury their talents. The call is always to grow, to bear fruit, to advance according to the season. God is not glorified by misery. He is glorified by aligned hearts. If poverty were a virtue, Jesus would have multiplied scarcity, but he multiplied bread. Being poor is not a sin, but accepting scarcity as the kingdom's standard is missing the mark. Now I want to hear from you. How have you been living this tension between detachment and sufficiency? Have you ever heard someone say that being poor is more spiritual? Tell me in the comments. And if this video made you think differently, leave a like and subscribe to the channel.